In this video, I want to talk about everything we know so far regarding the Janus Towers DLC map that we're going to see at some point inside of Black Ops 6 Zombies. So recently I've posted a video going over everything we know regarding the Mansion DLC map, which seems to be the Liberty Falls intro cutscene where Richtofen has been hanging out, because obviously all of the focus right now is on DLC 2, the next map, Dig Site in Avalon. However, since the game has launched, Trek have actually been teasing all of the future DLC maps within the game, so they are not being shy about them whatsoever at all. Now obviously they did a leak before the game actually released, so we've had a good idea of what the lineup would be, but it didn't really give us that much of an advantage when Trek planned on teasing them on launch anyways. So the first information we get about Janus Towers is on Terminus there is a computer monitor of the world, and there are two markings on it listing other Janus facilities. However, it specifically lists them as being offline. One is Mansion, the other being the Towers. Now I have to assume they are offline because of Sam causing the outbreaks, and maybe in the process the power got disrupted and fractured the mainframes, so maybe on both the Mansion and Janus Towers maps we are going to have to turn on the power, as opposed to, for example, Citadel Day More where no power is required. The other mentions of the Janus Towers come from quotes in the game that I'll play for you right now.
Those towers were built to test our faith, and we had none to hold back the evil within them. Janus people filled my church, drank my wine, asked for forgiveness. I was overjoyed. Panos, he worked at Project Janus, kind of a genius. Always bitching about office politics and weird experiments.
I'd much rather listen to his war stories than chit-chat with the backstabbers in Janus Towers.
Inside of Terminus, it lists the Mansion as being in West Virginia, however the dimensions are a bit off and it would imply that the Janus Towers is actually further away. However, I think they are both right in Liberty Falls and can be seen from Liberty Falls. I just think this is just a mistake with the map, and I think it's just not really meant to be geographically accurate. It's just giving us a preview of the maps to come and teasing them, and Trek have done plenty of mistakes like this with their maps in the past, so it's not really a big deal, to be honest. And I think it definitely must be close to Liberty Falls, considering the fact that Panos is mentioning backstabbers there, so they must be in close proximity for them to be communicating with each other. And apparently there's been a lot of office politics and weird experiments going on in the Mansion and also Janus Towers. Now the other mention of Janus Towers is actually from Owen Guthrie's research. Obviously he was diving into everything Janus related because he was trying to break it to the press, but he got caught by Modi and she eventually turned him into Patient 13, of course. But there are mentions of the Mansion facility and there's also mentions of the Towers, and he doesn't know what these are, obviously. Now I do believe that these towers are the giant towers like I've been talking about on the channel that can be seen in the distance of Liberty Falls. I think the following two maps after the dig site are both going to be in Liberty Falls, in a similar sense to how we're having Citadel Day More and also the Tomb dig site map back to back, both in Avalon, France. I think we're then going to come back to Liberty Falls and get some maps very close to each other. Now considering it seems very likely we're getting multiple maps in Liberty Falls, I've seen lots of people complaining about this, saying they don't want the maps to feel too similar, but from what we've seen, I think these maps are going to be strikingly different from Liberty Falls. For one, Liberty Falls is just within the town section. The Mansion map is going to be completely different. It's going to be very close quarters in a mansion, of course, and at least the majority of the map is going to be indoors, probably some of it going underground to where the Sam AI is. Maybe you can go outside on the hill. However, the majority of the map is probably going to be in the Mansion, completely different to the town itself, as well as the fact that the Janus Towers facility, if you look in the distance of Liberty Falls, these giant towers are absolutely colossal in size, and they are also on fire and destroyed. So most likely when Sam caused the outbreak in the Mansion and also the town itself, this also happened in the Towers facility at exactly the same time. Potentially this is even where the scientist was in the intro cutscene. I'm not exactly sure, who gets teleported away alongside Richtofen. And God knows what sort of crazy experiments they have been doing inside of these towers, if they've been doing stuff with time displacement and time travel. I think obviously the main goal of Richtofen with Janus, I think he wants to find a way to restore his family that were killed by Sam and Weaver. In doing so, he had two departments, the biological one where he could try and create a physical body with a single sample of DNA, which Modi failed at. However, the other method could be stuff related to time travel, trying to go back to the date of their death or something like that. But what is is going to be the wonder weapon on Janus Towers? Well, there's been many wonder weapons leaked in the files of the game, one being the Wunderwaffe that is probably going to be the one on the mansion map, considering Richtofen has it in the intro cutscene, so I'd have to assume the other one that was leaked, which is the Ray Gun Mark II, is probably going to be the one on this Janus Towers map, and I think it thematically fits in with the map as well. If it is like a technological facility, I think it would make a lot of sense. And also, it seems like Janus Towers is going to be a stark contrast to the other maps, because so far we've had Liberty Falls, which is just an outbreak right after it's ensued. It's a pretty basic map, not much going on, but then we have the stark contrast where we have a biological facility on Terminus Island, a very desolate island, but it was going for the more scientific approach again. But then when we jump over to Citadel Day More, they were leaning more into the magical stuff, with the Chaos story being reintroduced into us trying to find the Sentinel artifact. But then when we go over to Dig Site, we're going to probably be successful in using the amulet to piece together the Sentinel artifact. As a result, I think that Dig Site's going to be even more magical and even more mystical than Citadel Day More. I think it's going to be pretty much a hard-on Chaos map. Then for Mansion, I've got a feeling like that's going to be a good mix between the two, where we have the more magical stuff mixed in with the science again, and then maybe we might go back to the hard science with Janus Towers. We could have a good blend of all of these different things, but it's hard to know what the map is actually going to be like on Janus Towers, considering we only see them in the distance. It's hard to make out what exactly is going on there, and you can also fly over with a chopper gunner, and not only can you get a look at the Janus Towers, but you can get a good look of the Hilltop Mansion as well, where Richtofen is, because it's right behind the church in the distance, right on the hill, and that's also where Blanchard is camping out. Now, in terms of where Panos runs off to as well at the ending of the Liberty Falls Easter egg, he might have actually gone to Janus Towers, so he could be something we faced there potentially, or on the mansion, but I'd have to assume he would go to Janus Towers, considering the quotes that I mentioned earlier regarding backstabbers there, and he still has loose ends to tie up. Now, regarding the voice that has been talking to Panos, I personally believe it's the Sam AI, however, I think he believes it's the real Samantha Maxis when it actually isn't, and that's going to lead to some tension there. I think she's going to be getting him to do his bidding for whatever goal she wants, whether it's to get a physical body, such as going inside of Aetherella, which would make a lot of sense if we're going back to Liberty Falls. But I'm really looking forward to this map because I think it's the one which is the most secretive. We've got a good idea now of what the Dig Site map's going to be like. We have an image of it. We have a good idea of the mansion map, considering literally the entire Liberty Falls intro cutscene is within it, but we're not so sure on the Janus Towers map. And previously, I thought that Janus Towers would be DLC 3 and then DLC 4 would be the mansion map when I was speculating before release. But now the game's actually come out and I've had longer to think about it, I'm thinking that actually the Janus Towers could be the final map. So it does seem like we might just be getting 4 DLC maps like usual in the post-launch. Maybe Trek wanted to do more maps, but obviously they have to work on COD 2025 Zombies as well. So it's a lot of work for them to get 2 Zombies experiences coming out back to back. So they need to spread out the content, I guess, across 2 games, and that's a lot of power needed. And the thing is, right now, Trek have been teasing both Mansion and Janus Towers with the launch of the game. However, Citadel Day More has given us no new information on either of those. However, obviously, with Dig Site, they will probably tease the next map after that. So we will know probably when that map releases which one, Mansion or Janus Towers, will be next after, so we can deduce which is the final map. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more teasers regarding Janus Towers and Mansion, or at least one of them on the next map. Probably the one that's going to be following will get the most teasers, but we already have a decent amount of information to go on, but there's definitely a lot more information to come. And of course, when Dig Site comes out, if we get a lot more new information about these DLC maps, I'll of course make a follow-up video. But a big reason why I think Janus Towers will be DLC 4 is, judging from the Mansion, I think Janus Towers is going to be the bigger map because they look like colossal towers, whereas the Mansion, yes, it's pretty big, but it doesn't seem like the biggest map in the world. Obviously, we might go underground, but maybe that's just going to be in the boss fight if we gain access to that elevator, and maybe we can go outside on the hill as well. But we'll probably be able to see the town of Liberty Falls as well from both the Mansion as well as Janus Towers, just like how we can see those maps from Liberty Falls because they're right next to each other. And the Janus Towers just seem so mysterious to me and mystical. But if the map is going more in the hard sci-fi approach, once again, there has been a Mecha Klaus found in the files of the game, so Klaus might be returning. Obviously, he's also in the Vault Edition, and I would love to see Klaus back. Maybe Brutus could return as well, considering we have Archibald to do with the Dig Site map. Maybe that could be the new version of Brutus. We'll have to wait and see. Regardless, one map is going to have Klaus on it, and when I look at all of the maps, Klaus makes the most sense to be on Janus Towers because Klaus is a robot, obviously, and that's the more technological map. And if they were to have Klaus on Mansion, again, it doesn't make as much sense when we already have a big robot there. that being the Sam AI. But Mecha Klaus, I don't know what that could be. It could be that Klaus has had a hefty upgrade. Maybe he's more like a Panzer Soldat now. Maybe the Janus Towers is actually the manufacturing place for Klaus. Now, obviously, Klaus got sent into the Dark Ether on Richtofen to detonate the warhead and save the world from the Forsaken. So potentially he could return from the Dark Ether, but at the same time, it is just a robot, it is just AI, so who's not to say a near infinite amount of these can be produced over and over again. And also, we've speculated in the past that Klaus is actually based on the AI personality of none other than Richtofen himself. So we have an AI Sam in the storyline, and also on Richtofen, we had similar AI technology made by Dr. Grey for the Cerberus Wonder weapons, which contain the AI of all of the Requiem heads. So if our theories are true that Klaus is actually based on Richtofen, wouldn't that be so cool to see that explored or potentially even fully confirmed on this map? And we do know the Hellhounds are returning at some point. They were found in the files and U2s are releasing them. So it might mean that it's coming very early, or it could be coming with Dig Site, or it could end up coming with Mansion or Janus Towers. So I think that's part of the reason why I feel like it's going to be DLC 4. However, another reason is because I think that Mansion is going to be the map where we're going to be trying to save Richtofen, probably as the purpose of the Easter egg. He might even be communicating to us from the Dark Ether. Maybe on Dig Site, right at the end of that, we'll realize that the Sam AI is the one who caused the outbreaks, and she might get angry and then send us over to Liberty Falls for what she wants us to do next. Assuming we are successful in collecting the Sentinel artifact for her, she might send us to Liberty Falls because she wants a physical body, whether it be Etherella or something like that, or maybe she's working on the behest of the Shadow Smiths or some other evil agenda. But I think it would be perfect if we managed to rescue Richtofen, then he can be a playable character on Janus Towers. That would be perfect. I really hope Treyarch allow Richtofen to be a playable character. He needs to be a main crew as well, not just an operator, although I think it would be cool if we do rescue him on the Mansion as he becomes an operator bonus, but we all know they want to sell him in the store, so they might not be generous because they're going to make an absolute boatload of money if they ever sell him as an operator. I just worry that because the original characters are returning with COD 2025 zombies, that they're not just saving us to play as Richtofen until that game. At the end of the day, Janus Richtofen is a very unique version of Richtofen, very different to any we've seen before, and as far as we're aware, the COD 2025 original characters will be new iterations of them, so it might not even be Janus Richtofen. It could be a new version we've never seen before to join the other new versions. But maybe at the end of the story, we're going to see Richtofen and the Sam AI battling it out just like the good old Ether days, and we're going to have to choose with which one we side with. Because I think the purpose of the Mansion map is us going to learn about Richtofen's history and his past with getting brainwashed by MK Ultra, by Gabriel Kraft to try and rid him of his nightmares of the Ether. I think we'll grow to empathize with him as we learn about the horrific acts that Weaver and Samantha Maxis did. And Weaver was acting just on the intel given by Samantha, so he could rid himself of the guilt if all of the blame ends up getting placed on Samantha Maxis. And whilst Richtofen obviously has done horrible things in the storyline, and all of the characters want him dead currently for locking them up and backstabbing them as their ex-director, when they learn about his horrific history and what Weaver did, they really could grow to empathize with him, especially Weaver, considering he already seems to be starting to empathize with him, judging from when Kraft mentions that he is his child in the Citadel ending. He's realizing, wait, this is someone who people care about, and it clearly made him remember what he did to Richtofen's own son. So if it is a battle between Sam as well as Richtofen, maybe we're going to see something similar to the Black Ops 2 storyline playing out, because many of the current story has been mirroring that, and I think a very good idea could be that these towers actually work similar to the polarization towers from Black Ops 2, and maybe Samantha Maxis instead of Ludwig Maxis will be against Richtofen in trying to power them up to gain power over the Ether. Richtofen might be trying to figure out a way with temporal flux to bring back his family from the Dark Ether. Maybe Samantha will be trying to gain a physical body, or maybe she's working for some sort of demonic entity such as the Shadow Smiths or the Forsaken or something else. Regardless, I think that would be a really cool setup. Another possibility is that the Sam AI, because we know she's probably going to be an antagonist because she's lying to us, and we will discover that sooner or later. Carver is already suspicious.
Let's play this out. Kraft points us at the shiny magic doodad, we bring back Maxis, and then kick down Richtofen's door. What's Sam get out of this? What's her angle?
If Richtofen treats his artificial friends like his real ones, Maybe she just wants him gone.
It could be that she's just dealt with on the mansion map, or potentially even earlier, she's killed off, and that's that. Especially with the recent concerns about Julie Nathanson getting recasted, they may cut their plans early, and because of that, it may then set up some other big bad, because obviously stuff has to tie in at some point with Ava Jansen and the Shadowsmiths. But I think that's more so going to be the cliffhanger of the storyline. I personally think we're going to finish the game, defeat whatever immediate bad there is, and I personally think we're going to side with Richtofen at the end, which I will have a video probably already out going more in depth on this subject, which will be linked in the description. And I personally think Richtofen might get a happy ending if he is successful in rescuing his family. It would be nice for him to finally get a happy ending. Zombies never get a happy ending, and whether you think he deserves it or not, it doesn't matter. Sometimes horrible people can only change through the acts of kindness, and if he's able to just live out his life with his family, that could be that. And obviously we know the storyline somehow has to get to 1996, and personally I think the whole of the Black Ops 6 zombie storyline is going to be wrapped up in a mere matter of months, considering barely any time passed between Terminus and Citadel Daymore. There's probably only going to be a day or so, or maybe weeks, between Citadel Daymore and Dig Site, since it's down the road. And personally I think the SAM AI will teleport us over to Liberty Falls, or we have to take transport. Either way, I don't think it's going to be a crazy amount of time, and then if we're getting two Liberty Falls maps back to back that are very close to each other, again, probably a mere matter of days or weeks will happen between the maps. But yeah, I do wonder who is going to be the boss fight on Janus Towers. Maybe it could even be Panos if he's been corrupted by the Dark Ether or is working for the SAM AI and believes it to be Samantha Maxis. That could be very well possible, or maybe we don't even defeat Sam on Mansion, maybe we fight Panos there or something like that. Blanchard will probably be communicating to us throughout both of these maps, at least on the Mansion map. He'll probably be definitely helping us to try and get to Richtofen, I assume. But I assume that if the Mansion map does come first, we're going to learn so much about Richtofen, so we'll be all clued in on his backstory, so that's not left to the final map. So the final map can be more climactic, knowing the history that has gone into it, because there's so many gaps in Richtofen's story that need to get filled in to explain more about what has happened and how he went down this dark path. But like I say, I really do think there's probably going to be some sort of time jump at the end, depending on whatever happens, where we have to learn that the Requiem heads are dying due to Ethereum exposure. They will sacrifice themselves in Urzikstan to give up their essence. I personally think their souls are within the Dark Ether, so maybe they will fight alongside our original characters as their souls, not their real people, inside of the Dark Ether. That would make a lot of sense and explains why Ava was having hallucinations of them, because their souls might still exist in the Dark Ether, in a similar way that Samuel's Richtofen's son's soul could exist as an orb in the Dark Ether as well, being protected by Mr. Peaks. Whilst the Shadowsmiths could be the final boss on this map, we know they exist in Modern Warfare Zombies, and I think that they're not going to be a major role in this game. I think it's going to be part of the cliffhanger. We know the original characters are returning, and we know that the Shadowsmiths want to restore the multiverse and restore the original character's essence for an unknown reason. So that will probably be set up right at the end of the storyline. Maybe Richtofen is living a normal life for a few years, or all of the characters are, but they're dying. They're trying to live, but maybe right at the end of the story they learn of the Shadowsmiths, or they learn of this greater unknown threat in the Dark Ether wanting to return the original characters, and Richtofen, or potentially the other characters, have to concoct a plan to stop them, and they have to sacrifice themselves to somehow create a lock. And for some reason Ava Jansen is created as well, maybe to fight or defend against the Shadowsmiths, since we know the Shadowsmiths were only able to take Ava because the entity was defeated. The entity was actually protecting her all along, albeit in a demonic way, and wasn't really truly evil. It was actually needed. So it's going to be interesting to see how Ava Jansen ties into everything. It really, really is. I think right now there's just so many loose threads, it's hard to predict exactly how it's going to go. We have some kind of rough idea, but I think the problem with Modern Warfare Zombies is it's just set up so many things, and it's hard right now trying to work out how that all intertwines with everything. And I just hope that there aren't some or too many questions left unanswered by the end of it, you know, because right now we have the SAM AI that's going to get found out as lying at some point. We have Panos, who's probably working for Sam at some point. We have the real Samantha Maxis in the Dark Ether. We have the Shadowsmiths. We have the original characters returning. We have whatever Richtofen's endgame is going to be. We have rescuing Richtofen. There's so many questions left unanswered. And also, if Richtofen's in the Dark Ether sent in by Sam, is he going to encounter the real Samantha Maxis? How is he even defending himself whilst he's in there? Is he going to get corrupted similar to Samantha Maxis? Is he going to gain ethereal powers just like her? How has he been protecting himself when the Wonder Wharf got broken? There's so many questions. And also the biggest question is the Sentinel artifact. When are we going to use it? Now, we've been speculating maybe Dig Site will be a trial. However, it's clear that both Richtofen and the SAM AI need the Sentinel artifact for something, so I don't think we're going to activate it just yet on Dig Site. Whilst previously I've said we might, I'm now backtracking on that a little bit and thinking it doesn't make sense for us to activate it just yet when both Richtofen Richtofen and Samantha need it for something, which is probably in Liberty Falls for the reason for us going there. So maybe it won't even be activated until right at the end of the storyline. So I've been saying, you know, maybe Janus Towers could be a more sci-fi map. However, if the Sentinel artifact is not actually used until the end of the storyline, maybe that could be used there instead, or it could be used on the mansion if that's the final map. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't know what the Sentinel artifact will do. Will it somehow disrupt the dark ether and cause temporal displacement as Richtofen tries to rip his family back to life out of there, and it completely messes with the fabric of space-time? Who freaking knows? But both of them need the Sentinel artifact for something, so that's going to cause major chaos. Now, interestingly enough, the Janus Towers inside of Jingle Hells are not on fire, but I don't think this is any storyline indication. Obviously, this is just a fun event for Christmas, and I think they're just not on fire for aesthetics because obviously it's snowing, it's cold, so it doesn't make as much sense for them to be on fire. I don't think that's any story indication, but I guess it could be indicating, as I don't think the amount of time from February all the way into winter would have passed by then. Anyways, let me know what you think of this map in the comment section below. In the description, I'm going to have a link to an in-depth video going over everything we know on Dig Site, and also another link to a video going over everything we know on Mansion. Do you agree with me? Do you think that Janus Towers could actually be the final DLC map, or do you think it could be Mansion? I keep flip-flopping on all of these things, but right now there is so much speculation to be had, and that's all we can do is speculate, and sometimes things absolutely land, a lot of the time, or most of the time, things are completely off, and that's all fun and games. Trek are purposely making us ask these questions, and I think that's one of the biggest drawing factors of zombies in general, and the storyline especially, is there are so many questions and so much mystery involved, and it's good proposing all of this speculation and questions. This is what molds the zombie storyline itself. Trek, look at all of the speculation and then mold it and intertwine it with our ideas. So anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.